I'm Dr. Alex Gregory. I'm a lecturer in the philosophy department at the University of Southampton, and this is the second of these videos about metaethics. So in the first video I gave you some background about assertions and beliefs and propositions. We're now going to put those notions to some work in understanding this key debate in metaethics between cognitivists and non-cognitivists. So this video I'll talk about cognitivism, and we'll do non-cognitivism in the third video. So what do cognitivists say? They say that moral language asserts that there are moral propositions, and that when you sign up to moral views, when you've got moral opinions, if you like, that's a matter of believing those propositions. Right, so cognitivists kind of make use of all the machinery we had so far, and they go, yeah, that's all really, really relevant when we think about moral claims. That's basically all they say. So let's go through that a bit more slowly. Cognitivists think that moral language is in the business of asserting stuff. So just as I might say the train leaves at 9 or snow is white, I might say torture is wrong, or it's wrong to lie, or it's bad to not keep your promises. I might make those sorts of moral claims. On the cognitivist view, when I do that, I am making assertions. I'm presenting certain things as true. I'm trying to share information with you about the way that the world is. So the way the world might be a certain way with respect to the colour of snow, it might be a certain way with respect to what time the train leaves, and so the cognitivist thinks there's a certain way the world might be with respect to whether or not murder is wrong. So that's the first thing that cognitivists say. They say that moral language sort of works to assert certain things as true. Now, of course, they can allow that some moral language involves, appears in questions, and perhaps there's other things you can do with moral language, like perhaps you can swear using moral language or something, but at least they think the kind of normal default use of moral language is to make assertions. The second thing they say, which will be kind of predictable, I hope, is that they think when you have certain moral thoughts, have some moral attitudes about stuff, they think that normally consists in your believing certain things. So if, you're a vegetarian, on some moral grounds, right, you think it's to be worried about animal suffering and so on, cognitivists will say, like, one thing that's happening in your head is you've got certain beliefs about it being wrong to eat animals. So they think you're signing up to the world being a certain way. You think certain things are true. You think that it's true that it's wrong to eat animals. So just as they think moral language functions to assert moral truths, they think moral thoughts consist in believing certain truths. And so, of course, cognitivists think that there are moral propositions. There are these, if you like, supposed facts out there. So that's what the cognitivist says. So the label cognitivism, that means something like capable of being true or false. That's what that label means in this context. So their point is that moral language assertions can be true or false, and that moral thoughts can be true or false, just as regular assertions and regular beliefs have those features. And they think that truth is really, really important in ethics. They think we ought to be saying things and thinking things which are true. That's what cognitivists care about. So those two claims I just gave you, right, they're the sort of definitive features of cognitivism, those two there at the top of this picture. Most cognitivists say those things because they also want to say there are some moral truths. So most cognitivists are realists, we might call them. They think that there are just facts out there, moral facts out there, and you should be trying to find out what they are so that you can have the right beliefs about morality, and so that you can share those beliefs with others in what you say. So that third claim that there's moral truth, that's not strictly speaking part of what it is to be a cognitivist, but most cognitivists endorse it. So just to kind of see the exception, there's what's called the error theorist, or you might call them a nihilist perhaps. Now that's someone who thinks that moral language is in the business of asserting stuff, that moral thoughts consist in believing things, but all of it's kind of wrong. Right? So think of the atheist and the way that they might think about religious language and religious thoughts. They think that it's all in the business of presenting certain things as true, and that religious beliefs involving signing up to certain things as true, but the atheist just thinks it's all false. The error theorist is like that with respect to morality. They think that, yeah, people have beliefs about the world being a certain way, about there being certain moral facts, but the error theorist says there aren't any. Right? Every moral thought you have is mistaken. So error theorists are cognitivists. Right? They think that moral language is in the business of asserting. They think that moral thoughts consist in belief. They think it's all wrong. So cognitivism, strictly speaking, is kind of neutral between realism and the error theory. Those are both options available to cognitivists. But most cognitivists tend to be realists, just kind of sociologically, if you like. And that's what most people think if they're a cognitivist. So there's lots of things you can say to evaluate this view. In a way, it has an easy time making sense of language that we use in this area, because lots of it looks kind of like declarative sentences, our assertions, our moral assertions look like they are really assertions, and so on. We talk about what people believe, morally speaking. So the view kind of fits the facts really neatly in lots of ways. Obviously, lots of the doubts here are doubts about realism or about the error theory. So the doubt about the error theory is like that looks really, really surprising if it turns out nothing is wrong or bad. And alternatively, if you're a realist, you've got a different set of problems. Doesn't this look a bit kind of superstitious and a bit weird to imagine there's like moral facts out there? People sometimes talk about morons, which are kind of like moral particles. That sounds like a really sort of strange thing to believe in, that there's kind of like really moral truth out there kind of built into the world. And even if there were such truths, like how could we have access to them? So one way of putting these worries is people think, look, if you're going to be a cognitivist, you're going to end up being an error theorist, and that looks like a bad place to be, right? If that turns out to be the view in which nothing's morally wrong, nothing's morally right. That seems really, really, really kind of radical as a view. So you might think we should avoid it. So anyway, that's what cognitivists say. I'll finish this video here, and you'll see the non-cognitivist alternative in the other video.